Welcome to Suffolk Matters, where all of Suffolk County meets the men and women of Suffolk AME. News, opinions, and insights you won't hear anywhere else. Filling in for AME President Dan Levler, here's your host, AME's Chief of Staff, Ryan McGarry.
Good morning to our listeners. This is AME Chief of Staff Ryan McGarry filling in this morning for President Dan Levler. So honored and excited about this show. I have two gentlemen in the studio with us that I've had the pleasure of working with for a number of years. Tom Ronayne, Director of Veteran Service Agency for Suffolk County, and Gold Star father Tim Scherer, father of Corporal Christopher Scherer, United States Marine Corps. Tragically, we lost in 2007. We're here today to talk about the Suffolk County Marathon, the Suffolk County Veterans Run Series, the great work that these events help both the county and the nonprofit partners do for our Suffolk County veterans population. We're also here to talk today about AME's involvement in those events as sponsors and partners, and also through the nature of their jobs. But before we get into the exciting topic of the marathon that just was announced earlier this week and the Veterans Run Series, that the lineup was just discussed earlier this week, I really do want to make our listeners aware of the great work that goes on in Suffolk County for veterans through your office, Tom, through the Veteran Service Agency. So if you wouldn't mind, with nearly 20 years experience as director, what is the Veteran Service Agency? What are you responsible for? What services are your VSOs providing?
We are privileged to be the governmental advocacy agency who serves not only veterans. The name would suggest that we serve only veterans. In fact, our charge, our mission is to serve active duty, National Guard, Reserve, veterans, their families, spouses, dependents, and survivors. So we cast a fairly broad net. We are the folks that you would come and speak with if you were interested in learning what your benefits related to your military service may be, entitlements to programs, entitlements to any manner of thing, from GI Bill to disability compensation, to assistance with obtaining or securing local, county, and state level benefits that unfortunately so many people are just not as aware of as we would hope that they would be. So we are really an information clearinghouse who provides a tremendous number of related services to ensure that once we've identified a benefit to which a veteran may be entitled, that we work with them to ensure that they obtain and secure those benefits.
No, it's such important work, and I'm so glad you mentioned really the breadth of the population you serve.
Yeah.
It's not just the veterans themselves, but their families, their dependents. And Suffolk County, for our listeners who aren't aware, we're very proud of this in this room, is one of the most densely veteran-populated counties in the entire country. Just under, I think, 100. You would know better than me, but just under 100,000 veterans. So when you're talking about their dependents, their family members, their widows or widowers, how many people is your office actually serving?
We serve, on average, directly in the range of between 20 and 22,000 clients annually. But we used to apply a number. We used to use 2.3 as the nuclear family. So if we take each veteran and we multiply that by 2.3, suddenly we're in contact with about 1/3 of the individuals residing in Suffolk County.
You're absolutely right.
When you consider that those veteran families have adult children, extended families, we've touched many, many more homes, and we like to believe that we probably directly or indirectly connect or have some reason to connect with virtually every household in Suffolk County through the connection to their military-related service member.
No, that's incredible, Tom. And now, you mentioned that you're serving over 20,000 clients every year. The population pool of people you could be serving, obviously even larger, so outreach is a big component of what you do. But for our perspective, your veteran service officers, who are AME members, we're so proud and honored to represent them, they're all veterans themselves, but
They are.
About how many do you have to serve over 20,000 clients?
So right now we have 10, and we're very happy.
A heavy workload for each individual.
It is a heavy workload, and it's important to understand that the title of Veteran Service Officer requires certain things. One, first and foremost, is that every veteran service officer in the county of Suffolk must have veteran status themselves. They must have served in uniform. They must have been honorably discharged. And we believe that that's tremendously important. It ensures that there is a first-person perspective when they are working with a client, and they understand we may have worn a different color uniform. We may have a Navy veteran serving an Air Force veteran, and et cetera, but ultimately we all wore that same flag on our sleeve, and it provides a unique ability to engage the clients in a way that a non-veteran, respectfully, really cannot. So that's really important. And we do this across 4 offices. Our main offices are located at the H. Lee Dennison building in Hauppauge. But we also operate an office out of the Brookhaven Town Hall. We have a office at Stony Brook University located in the lobby level of the Long Island State Veterans Home. And we have an office at the Riverhead County Office Center in Riverhead. So we are working hard to ensure that the awareness exists and that folks know how to contact us and are able to reach us throughout the county.
And how do they do that, Tom? How do they, or Director Ronayne, how do they contact to get an appointment or to meet with a VSO? You do walk-ins, or should they call a number, send an email?
We are
go to
always
the website?
happy. We are always happy to entertain walk-ins. I'll always qualify that statement by saying that if a service officer is available at the time that you walk in to see you. Otherwise, you would be invited to wait until somebody had completed meeting with the clients who they were scheduled with, or to schedule an appointment to return. The best way to contact us and to ensure that you're seen in a timely manner is to call us at 631-853-VETS, 8387 VETS on your touch-tone dial. And again, we are here to serve. We look forward to hearing from any veteran with a question, however simple or complex it may be. We are here to serve.
No, it's fantastic work, and I'm still not over the fact that you have 10 VSOs, 10 veteran service officers, yourself as director, and you're serving a population client pool of over 20,000. So obviously you have to do some great work with nonprofit partners as well. I know from working with you in the past and working with your team in the past that increasing workload coming down from the state and federal government to the county. So it's not just the county itself and the wonderful workforce that you oversee, but it's also partnering with other community organizations we'll talk about later in the show that are beneficiaries of the great work that the Suffolk County Marathon for Veterans is able to do and the Partnering Veteran Race Series is able to do. But to what extent do you interact with those nonprofit agencies?
The relationships that we enjoy with many, many not-for-profits across the county are indispensable. And I don't think that it is an understatement to say that we in county government could not execute our mission were it not for those relationships and those partnerships. The ability to make referrals, the ability to communicate, the ability to pick up a phone in the middle of the night and access a resource that many people are probably unaware exists is just indispensable. We couldn't do it without our partners, and I'm humbled to say that the level of commitment across the scope of partners that we work with is equal to ours at Veteran Services. We really are privileged to work with a community here in Suffolk County that is truly committed to serving the needs of our veterans and to ensure that those needs are met.
Oh, beautiful. And for our listeners, whether they're a veteran themselves, a friend of a veteran, a family member, or a loved one, to know that Suffolk County Veteran Service Agency is there for them. All they have to do is call 631-853-VETS. And they'll be put in touch with services. They'll be treated and interacting with a veteran who's been there themselves. It's just such important work. And before we switch topics and talk about the marathon, I do want to give you an opportunity, Director Ronayne, as you've almost at 2 full decades of service in this title, to talk about some of your many successes. But before I give you that opportunity, because I know we'll be talking about big programs like the Dwyer program and making inroads at addressing and greatly reducing homelessness amongst the veteran population, things like dealing with mental health and substance abuse and self-medication, all big picture things that you've done. But what I really want to acknowledge before we talk about those broader issues is knowing you and knowing your veteran service officers, the number of calls that you personally take, middle of the night, going out, site visits, dealing with people one-on-one. It's not just implementing programs or creating programs, but you're delivering one-on-one services to veterans who are in moments of crisis. It's not easy coming back home. And when they're struggling, you've talked people off of that metaphoric ledge, and it's not easy for that one-on-one. But big successes as well as those small personal ones. What does 20 years of service mean to you, and what are you proud of?
Well, in that catalog that I keep in the back of my head, some of those phone calls late night, middle of the day, some of those phone calls, some of those encounters with veterans who may have been in crisis or just may not have known where to turn, to me are just as impactful as some of the more well-known, more publicly visible achievements. One of them that I will always be just immensely proud of is Suffolk County was the birthplace, if you will, of the Joseph Dwyer Veterans Peer Support Program. Joe Dwyer, most of your listeners will remember Joe. Joe was photographed. He is in what has become an iconic photograph of a U.S. GI with his weapon slung over his shoulder, scooping up a little 4-year-old Iraqi child and carrying that child to safety in the midst of a firefight. And Joe was a Mount Sinai guy. He came from right here in Suffolk County. Joe achieved a level of fame. There was a bit of celebrity attached to that photograph. And it was really something that Joe, in Joe's words, he never wanted. He didn't go to war to become a celebrity, so to speak. Joe came home from war. Unfortunately, Joe did not survive the demons that he brought home with him. And as tragic as the loss of any one service member or soldier is, we lost Joe at a time when we were losing a horrific number. Any number is too high, but there was a point in time where we were losing just an unimaginable number of service members and veterans to suicide right here in Suffolk County. I can recall on more than one occasion attending 3 funerals in a single week, each of those funerals for veterans who had completed suicide. So when we lost Joe, it really sort of sent up a flare to a number of us in the community, leadership in the veteran services community. And we began having discussions as to what could we do within our community to change this horrible problem. And we didn't reinvent the wheel. We didn't do anything particularly extraordinary. We took an existing model. We tweaked it to accommodate the need that we saw, which was providing a resource, a place for veterans to go to spend time with other veterans and talk about their problems, talk about their concerns, whatever they may be. And some people will argue that PTSD is at the root of this, or that TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, are causative. The truth is that it doesn't have to be anything as well known as a PTSD diagnosis. It could just be somebody having a difficult time transitioning back home. It could be a veteran who is experiencing any of the challenges that any of us, veteran or non-veteran, might encounter in life, be that financial difficulties, unemployment, housing, food insecurity, so many things. And we believe that peer support was an effective model. We created what became the Joseph Dwyer program, and I'm very proud to say that in the years following the creation of the Dwyer program 12 years ago, it has grown from Suffolk County to now being funded in part through New York State. There is a Joseph Dwyer program in each of New York State's 62 counties.
Amazing.
There has been a bill in the House of Representatives for the past several years. Unfortunately, it has never picked up enough co-sponsors to be brought to a vote. But there has been a bill in the House of Representatives on multiple occasions to use the Suffolk County model as a template for the expansion of veterans peer support services on a national level. And we're hopeful that we, by continuing to advocate, that one day we will see a Joseph Dwyer program in every state in America. And the numbers of lives saved, I can't calculate. I can tell you that in part because of the data that we do track, the census data, certain other information. We know that there was a very significant decline in the incidence of veterans completing suicide in Suffolk County following the implementation of the Dwyer program. So what a tremendous legacy for Joe and Joe's family, and for all of the veterans who have been touched by that incredible program. So I would say that would probably be my the achievement that I am most proud of to have been a part of.
Certainly something to be proud of indeed, and to know that it started right here in Suffolk County and named for nationally a Suffolk County veteran. Such a legacy, to use your words, for the family as well as for our entire region. Just such important work that you're leading under County Executive Blown, and obviously managing your team of AME represented veteran service officers. Important work. Again, for our listeners, I'm AME Chief of Staff Ryan McGarry, filling in this morning for President Dan Leveler. We've been talking about the amazing work that Tom Ronayne and his team do in the Suffolk County Veteran Service Agency. But I want to bring in Gold Star father Tim Scherer at this point in the show, talk about something that's very close to my heart, and that is the Suffolk County Marathon. Before coming to AME, I was fortunate enough to serve in the County Executive's Administration. County Executive Blown, a veteran himself, had the great vision of hosting a Suffolk County Marathon, giving Suffolk County something to be proud of, and he wanted to ensure it was for veterans. And it's not only an amazing fundraiser, we just hit the $1 million mark in funds raised for Suffolk County veterans. But what I always loved about it was it's an event that forces the entire community to open their eyes and see and support the sacrifices that our veterans and their families make. And toward that end, nobody knows the hardship better than you, Tim, as a Gold Star father, of losing a child in service to their country. And I'm just curious, without putting you too much on the spot, what it means to see that community support from your elected leaders, but from the community itself, the participants, the sponsors, the volunteers, and just the men and women who come out of their houses to cheer runners on. And because they're not cheering on the runners, they're cheering on what those runners are running for. So, Tim, if you wouldn't mind just kind of letting us know how you got involved with the Veterans Run Series, the marathon, and what it means to you to be a part of it.
Our family became involved on 21 July 2007. Our lives were changed forever. My second son was felled by the single bullet from an enemy sniper while serving in Iraq. We got the title of Gold Star Father and Gold Star Mother, and never knew what that meant until that day. And what we decided to do was to honor our son. We were going to try to give back and help veterans, as it was, a lifelong goal for him to become a Marine and do the things that he did. So we wanted to do something that would be family-oriented and really kind of introduce people to the veteran community. And we decided to do a run walk. It was right in the neighborhood, so we called it the Corporal Christopher G. Scherer Memorial. I did the grid run walk, and what it was is you walked up and down every street in the neighborhood, a 4-mile run walk, and the neighborhood embraced us. We really wanted to do a scholarship, and we wanted to send packages to the troops. As the last phone call we got from my son was he wanted lighter boot socks. He said, "Dad, it's 130 degrees over here. Can you send me lighter socks?" And I'm like, "Okay, Chris, I'll work on that." And then as I was about ready to give it back to my wife, he says, Dad, wait, can you do me a favor? Can you also send some extras for some of the guys? They don't get care packages. They don't have families. I got off the phone, and I was, you're just kind of beaming. Your kid is, 20, 21 years old, always thinking about themselves. And he wasn't. He was thinking about his fellow men and everything. So I got off that phone call, and it was a Friday night, and everybody had always asked what we can do, and we were always told, don't send anything unless they ask, otherwise it's just going to get them in trouble. And it was a Friday night. I put it on email, and by Monday I had $1,500. By Wednesday I had $2,500 to spend. And I did. And I researched it. I got the socks and care packages, and we made a decision right there. We weren't sending one. We were sending 50 to 60 care packages to honor his wishes to help everybody else. And sadly, he was killed 3 days later. He never received one of them. So we spent a month getting those packages back. That feeling is what started the Corporal Christopher Scherer Semper Fi Fund. We said if he asked us to help his fellow Marines, that's exactly what we're going to do. And thus we started sending packages, and we wanted to do a scholarship at the high school in his name. So again, getting back to the run we started, we wanted 150 to 200 runners, but we came up with a concept of we're not going to give out personal awards or achievements. You're not going to see your name up on a board that you finished in this time, in this place, and everything like that. And instead, on your bib, you were going to have the name of 3 fallen warriors, and at the end, you were going to ring a bell for each one that you ran for to signify on that day that they were definitely remembered. Sadly, now, it went up to 4 on each bib with the amount of casualties that, we've had. So the running community, some of them came to me and said, you can't do that. You have to do at least computer certificates for these people. They have to see their name or they're not going to come. We thought about it. I almost caved, and then I sat with the team that I put together, and I said, what do you guys think? And they're like, well, we want to know what you think. And I said, well, my opinion is if they don't want to come for the right reasons, we don't want them.
Yep.
They can run any other race they want, but if they want to run this one, it has to be for our reasons. And we stuck to our guns, and we sweated it out. And then they just came through in a huge way. Instead of 150 to 200 in our first year, we got 850 runners.
Wow.
And in the second year, we went over 1,000 and never went less than that for the 15 years of the life of the race. It just told us a lot about people. The one thing that we did do is at the end of the race, each finisher got a finisher prize or an award in a different sense. But it was 2 things that were important to my son. Each time he got a rank advancement, I would get him a challenge coin. Challenge coin, if you don't know what it is, usually it's given by a higher rank military to a lower for doing something exceptional. Well, I always felt that he was doing something exceptional serving our country. So that's how we got started. And the last thing I ever got from him from Iraq was a challenge coin, Operation Iraqi Freedom with the jets on the back. And he knew I was a Jet fan. And then when we received his belongings, he had a same coin with the Giants and another one with Notre Dame, 2 things important to him. So that's something that we wanted to do. And then in opposite years, we give out something that also was very important to him is pint glasses so he could hold his Guinness. So what we're recognizing, and when we're giving that out, we're saying that you coming to support veteran causes, you may not think it, but you're doing something exceptional because we had this, we've had the fund and we had the race for 15 years. We actually just stopped it after last year, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But, doing that run and coming out, we raised in 15 years ourselves also over $1 million. And we feel that we did it $20 at a time. We didn't go after big sponsors. This was the people's, as the Marine Corps Marathon is the people's run. Well, this was the people that did this. And we always said we take no credit for the things we've been able to do, is we're spending your money because you're coming out and you're helping veteran causes. So that's really how we got started. And it's enabled us because not getting 150 to 200, we were able to do other things. We sponsor service dogs with vet dogs from Smithtown. And we get the puppies started in the process. They're all not guaranteed to go through, but if you don't have the ones to start, you're never going to get to that point. We've also, as we said, we've sent over 4,000 care packages over the years. We sent equipment to his fellow Marines that were serving. And in the beginning, our mission was to make 1 minute of one day for a Marine better for a Marine who was serving in harm's way. Over time, it became just active armed forces because we embraced the community and all people through them. But then we changed our mission. We wanted to make every minute of every day better for a active armed force returning home. And thus the dogs. You can change. We tell everybody, you all have the ability to change somebody's life by getting this dog to this veteran. And you might not think you're doing something huge, but you are when you're changing the life of a veteran.
No, and it all starts with you, Tim. I don't know what the Veterans Run Series and the Suffolk County Marathon would be without your heart and soul that you put into it. I Did the Grid, Corporal Christopher Scherer, I Did the Grid, one of the most beautiful, impactful events I've ever had the pleasure of participating in. The ringing of the bell, the dog tag memorial that you always set up. And it was always the kickoff event for the Veterans Run Series. Obviously, the marathon and the Suffolk County Marathon, we always tried to make as one of the bigger events of that series. But it was always a kickoff. It was Memorial Day weekend. And what I loved about meeting you for the first time and talking about you being willing to help the marathon get off the ground and having this vision of an entire run series where we're working in coordination with other veteran-run charitable road races or trail races. At the root of it's solidarity, right? A lot of folks got a little competitive maybe or got fearful that we would be vying for the same sponsors and our pool would be a little lessened. And you said, no. We have to work together. If the cause is to help veterans, we're all one team for one fight here. And you helped create the Veterans Run Series, helped making it what it is today. So I just really quickly want to ask, I know folks who want to get involved with the marathon. AME is a proud sponsor. We proudly register runners and volunteer, but we also help make it work by making sure that the Freedom Fest at a Suffolk County park is staffed and clean and looking its best. We have crossing guards and civilians in emergency services and in our Department of Public Works, making sure the courses are safe, impacted communities are safe. And of course, Tom, as we mentioned before, we have the veteran service officers who help coordinate where the funds raised go, working with those nonprofit agencies, those beneficiary agencies. So I know for the marathon, folks can go to SuffolkCountyMarathon.com. Where can folks go to learn more about the entire series? Where can they go to register for races in the series? And one in particular, the first one now that I Did the Grid won't be continuing, will be 1 week from today, May 28th, in memory of Deshaun Briggs, run by his wife, Rebecca Briggs. That's going to be the new kickoff race for the Veterans Run Series. So, Tim, Director Ronayne, where do folks go to sign up for this race in particular or the entire series?
You can go to the Suffolk County Veteran Run Series .com, which will enable you to link to any one of the races that is part of the Run Series. You can also go to Run for Briggs, and directly then you can sign up for that. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. Was we felt that we were stopping our run after 15 years, and the story is I wore the number 15 in high school for varsity lacrosse, and both my boys chose that number, which was a big honor. Northport High School retired the number 15 in honor of my son Christopher, so we retired the grid after the 15th year. We wanted the concept to go on, and I approached Rebecca Briggs, who her run was in the series already in August. And I said, how would you like to take it over? It's appropriate that it's a Gold Star family. After losing her husband, Deshaun, in 2018 from the 106 Rescue Wing in a helicopter crash, she was happy to take it. So the same concept will be there. You'll wear a bib with 4 fallen warriors. You'll still ring the bells. We're going to be donating the bells. We've already constructed them, and we'll be giving them to her. So those are the areas that you can do, and that was the whole reason, as you stated, was to put these runs together. You're right, we're not a competition. I used to let other people sell merchandise at our runs, and people say, what are you, crazy? You're not getting it. I'm like, what do I care? I'm giving it to veterans. If they're giving it to veterans, it doesn't matter where it comes from as long as it ends up with veterans. So this year we will have 8 runs. It's down 1 because we have moved out, and then we've moved Rebecca from August to May. But that would be it. And we're just hoping that those same amount of people that supported us will go out and do the same for Rebecca.
No, it's a beautiful series, beautiful cause. I love the perspective of if it's for veterans, it doesn't matter who's getting the credit for it. But to give some credit, I again want to acknowledge our county executive, Steve Malone, for having the foresight to work with men like you to put this entire series and the marathon together. Obviously, I keep mentioning because I know our members are proud of it. AME is a proud sponsor, but Catholic Health Services from the beginning has been a proud sponsor of the marathon. The event couldn't happen without their support. And I know we talked, Tim, already about Vet Dogs and the great organization that it is and a beneficiary organization of the marathon. But you actually work for one of the beneficiary organizations, and we're almost out of time, but United Veterans Beacon House. What is their mission? What work do they do to serve veterans? And why is it important that they remain a beneficiary of the funds raised?
United Veterans Beacon House, we have close to 50 houses now, and we house probably around 300 veterans on a daily basis that we, provide, a shelter for them. So what's important about that is we are grant-based. So we have grants for all different needs for all of these veterans. But the one thing that we apply for through the Suffolk County Marathon is called unmet needs. And why that's so important is all of these grants have specifics of what we can do with that money and how we spend that money. But I'm going to give you an example, and this is the one that always sticks in my mind. It's a Friday night, and it's January, and it's 5 degrees out, and you get a phone call from a veteran that he's in the car with his wife and children, and they have no place to go. So if you take it by the grants and you don't have something to cover that, well, maybe your answer is, all right, well, come back Monday morning and we'll see if we can help you. But if you have the benefit of the unmet needs money that we applied for the Suffolk County Marathon, instead we say, come here right now. We will get you a hotel room for the weekend. We will get you meals for the weekend. And then on Monday morning, we will get you in touch with proper agencies to meet your needs. It could be the Suffolk County Veterans Agency. It could be anyone. That's the same kind of spirit that we all have. Doesn't matter whether Beacon House gives you that help. It matters that we put you in touch with somebody to get that help. So if you take those two scenarios, which would you choose? Sit them out in a freezing car for the whole weekend, or would you get them to safety right away? Well, that's what you would want for your family, and that's the basis of what we all do is, if it were mine, if it was my family, what would I done? What would I do? And then that's basically what you're doing. And Beacon House, they do it, and I think that I can't even tell you how many thousands they've helped. I started there. I've been there for 11 years now. I like what I do. I feel good every day. I feel like I'm connected to my son because, once again, you are helping his fellow veterans come back into society.
No, such important work, and that unmet needs being fulfilled is
Huge.
so important, especially, for all populations when they need help, but especially, in my mind, for the veterans population, because one of the biggest hurdles is always getting over that positive quality of pride. The population that doesn't want to ask for help, they want to give help. So if they're asking for help, they don't need it next week. They don't have time to make an appointment. They need the help now. And with the marathon, with the Veterans Run series, being able to allow organizations to provide that help instantaneously in the moment of crisis and need is tantamount to the entire mission. For our listeners who want to get involved, support, whether it's making a donation, making a sponsorship, volunteering to get involved, or just participating in any one of the runs, you can find out more information at SuffolkCountyMarathon.com or Suffolk
County Veteran Run Series.
SuffolkCountyVeteranRunSeries.com. For folks who might need services or know somebody who does, we encourage everyone to call Director O'Nane's office, the proud men and women who are veteran service officers in his office at 631-853-VETERANS. Again, filling in for President Dan Leveler this morning, I'm Ryan McGarry, AME Chief of Staff. Couldn't be more proud to host Gold Star Father Tim Scherer from East Northport with us today, and Director Tom O'Nane Veteran Service Director for Suffolk County for the past 2 decades. Gentlemen, thank you all both for all you do for our Suffolk County veterans.
And
Thank you
also.
so much, Ryan.
Thank you.